Test, test, test. Working?
Yep.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Katie Catchman, and it is Wednesday, June 22nd at 7:15 p.m. And I now open the Committee of the Whole, and we will start with a roll call.
Obie? Here. Ellis? Here. Francie?
Here.
Gagan?
Here.
Catchman?
Here.
Lawrence?
Here.
Mackey?
Here.
Morrison?
Here.
Garcini? Here. Ross?
Here.
Shaw? Here. Taylor?
Here.
Shave?
Here.
For our first item tonight, I'm going to hand it over to Mayor Shave for a presentation.
Thank you. Chief Schubert. I know there's police chiefs and then there's but, you know, Chief Schumate's been here like 4 years, and in that time, he's supported the Explorer program, as you can see them over there. And we're really succeeding with that program, great program. He's also brought us the VIP program, which is extremely successful. And then the, what was it called? The Citizens Academy. We got that started again, and that was real successful, great program. Thank you, Chief. So it seems like a long 4 years, you know.
It's been a rewarding 4 years, but it's been an exhausting 4 years. I will admit that. So
We've come through a lot in the last 4 years. A lot of turmoil, a lot of problems, a lot of troubles, but a lot of good things as well. And so it gives me great honor tonight to present this plaque to Chief Schumate for his 4 years here. Our appreciation. See that. The plaque says, Avenue Policing, on the top, logo. It says, retired for service, Chief Schumate, in appreciation of 33 years, serving the citizens of Grace Harbor, 4 years as Chief of Police. Let's see that. Thank you, Chief Schumate.
thank you, Mayor Shave. I got to share that it's been an emotional couple weeks for me. I started when I was 21 years of age, and it seemed like that first 20, 25 years it just flew by. And then someone nearby convinced me to pursue the Aberdeen job, and I got lucky and I got it. And 4 years later, here I am. So anyway, as I shared with the mayor, it has been a very rewarding 4-year term for me, but it has been exhausting, and I am certainly ready for a break. So I wrote down a few notes just in case I got a little emotional here. I want to make sure I got it all out. So. But anyway, Mayor Shave, I do want to first start with you. Thank you very much. You were a big supporter of public safety and a supporter of myself. To the members of council, my fellow department heads, my fellow retiree, where's Chief Hubbard back there, to the city staff, and of course to our citizens. It's been an honor to serve as the chief, and I truly appreciate the recognition. However, those who I wish to recognize and deserve the most credit are truly the members of the Aberdeen Police Department, and I consider our family to be our explorers as well as our volunteers. And that includes our support staff, our corrections division, our commissioned officers, and my administrative staff who keeps me out of trouble. Thank you for that. I certainly appreciate everything that you all do, and I certainly appreciate you all taking the time to be here tonight. And there's so many others that I'm just thankful that I had the opportunity to work with over the years. from the county commissioners to emergency management to my fellow chiefs in the area. It's just been an absolute honor. I will tell you though, for me personally, I could not have done this for the past 33 years had it not been for my family. I have tonight with me my mother Charlotte, my sister Cindy, and my wife Mandy. And I will tell you though, with respect to Mandy, we've been together since high school. So 38 years, married 34, and was the one that got me to start, shall we say, a bit earlier in the testing process than I thought I wanted to. So I got hired at the ripe old age of 21, and now here I'm almost 55. But thank you very much, dear. Love you, love my family. So I'm going to follow my idol, retired Chief Tom Hubbard. And is that what would? A little slower, got it, okay. And just share some requests with the council before my time I depart here. My first one, and it's going to be similar to the request that Chief Hubbard shared, and that is with respect to progress with the new facility. No doubt you all have your work cut out for you trying to identify the priorities for the projects and obviously how to fund those projects. My request moving forward is that you look at the police and fire collectively as a public safety funding package. But in order to do that, the city does need to move forward with the phase 2 design. That was something the council had initially approved. We were looking at for property. Unfortunately, that did get removed from the budget for this year, but the plan is to put that back into the 2023 budget request process for consideration. My second request is doing what we can to retain the hardworking staff members of the Aberdeen Police Department. I have had the pleasure in my profession to work all 33 years in Grays Harbor County, and I've been involved and engaged with so many law enforcement agencies, from municipalities to sheriff's office throughout the entire state of Washington. And I will tell you, I am simply amazed at the dedication and professionalism that we have with the members of our agency. Not only are we the busiest agency in the county, but we are getting busier, and we deal with certain challenges that not all agencies within our county has to deal with. I got to share, over the last 4 years, this is kind of astounding, we have had 20 police officers depart our agency. 16 of them retired. Of the 4, 1 left and came back. 1 did not make it through the training program, and the 1 left to another agency, and it's fair to say that the other 1 left, perhaps not necessarily under his own accord, but did go to another agency. That is significant because the majority of our officers have stayed here for their entire careers, so we have not had a retention problem. And so for our taxpaying citizens, we have definitely been getting a return on our investment. So again, my second request is this: as a city, we really need to work to do what we can to retain our current staff members. I believe the current and future leadership of the Aberdeen Police Department is going to continue to develop a team and family atmosphere and a leadership that cares about our people. And lastly, my final request is this. I say, please keep in your hearts and prayers the members of the Aberdeen Police Department, particularly our police officers, as we enter the summer months. While we are at full staffing now in our support division and only down 1 officer in our corrections division, our operations division will be down 7 commissioned officers going into the summer months with an ever-increasing call volume. With this, I have no doubt response times will increase, and you may hear complaints from constituents regarding it. I can assure you our staff is working hard, very hard, to provide the best possible service with the resources we have in the city. So while I'm saddened that I'm leaving at such a challenging point for staffing, I am confident that the members of our agency will again persevere. So thank you all for the honor to serve. God bless you all, and as I have often shared, stay safe. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
If you give us just 1 minute, I think we're going to exit most of our folks out. And then we'll start.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Chair Cashman?
Yeah.
Could I just share what I said at the Civil Service Commission meeting the other day?
Yeah, I don't think your mic's on though.
Chief Schumate,
Yes.
I would just like to share publicly what I said at the Civil Service Commission meeting the other day. And that is, we are living during some extremely challenging times. And we thank you for keeping the bar high and operating a department where morale is high. And that takes leadership, and we are very grateful. Thank you for that.
And Chief, a huge thank you on behalf of the entire council for your service. Oftentimes I find that the best way to find out how somebody is doing their job is to talk to them, but on the contrary, all the other officers that I work with talk about how great you are. And I know that you are an amazing chief because of the way that your peers speak of you, especially the one in the back of the room, and your officers out there. And that's all I ever needed to know.
Thank you.
Thanks.
The one in the back of the room was the other retiring police chief.
It's a room of retired folks.
Yeah.
And then there's us. All right, next on the agenda tonight, we have a guest speaker. Scott Betcher from the Chehalis River Basin Flood Authority is joining us tonight to give a brief presentation. Yeah, come on up, Commissioner Rain.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for inviting us and having us here tonight. Most of you know I'm Grace Harbor County Commissioner Vicki Rains, but I also serve as the chair of the Chehalis River Basin Flood Authority, and that's what we're here to chat with you about tonight. You probably can't hear me, but I would like to extend my congratulations and best wishes for a happy retirement to Chief Schumate. I know he'll enjoy spending time with those grandbabies. He's got another one on the way, so that will be exciting. We have a couple really great things going on. Most of you are aware of the North Shore Levee project that we're working on with Aberdeen and Hoquiam. We have a groundbreaking coming up next month on the Fry Creek project. This will be the largest project that we have funded so far for the in the entire basin fund-wise, and we're pretty excited about it. Scott's going to show you some information, and you'll be able to see that we've brought well over $50 million since 2008 to this community for flood reduction and flood mitigation. With the North Shore Levee, for those in the public that may not know this, it will take approximately 5,000 properties out of the flood zone and provide flood protection to them. But in addition to that, when it's complete, it will also provide for $2 million that's currently being paid in flood insurance to stay here locally. And that's a huge deal for our communities. So I'm going to turn it over to Scott Betcher, our leader at the Flood Authority, and he'll take it from here.
Okay, I'm Scott Betcher. Is my presentation up or? Okay. I don't know, are council members seeing it on their computer screens too?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay. So, as Vicki said, my name is Scott Betcher. I am staff to the Chehalis River Basin Flood Authority. I've been before your council many years ago, and we're in the process now of going back out around the basin to talk to local governments a bit about who we are and what we've done, and just sort of raise general awareness because of the pandemic and being busy. We haven't been around the basin for quite some time. So, two key points about this cover slide, and I will plan to go like about 15 minutes. Is that a good amount of time for you all?
That's perfect.
Okay. So on the cover slide, it says reducing flood damage and restoring aquatic species. I want you to keep in mind that the marriage of those two concepts, flood hazard reduction and aquatic species together, is very important to this whole overall effort of flood control in the Chehalis Basin. It allows for multiple interests to be met and work together towards common objectives. So as a theme, next slide. So I'll talk a little bit about kind of two key parts of the Flood Authority that we do very well. what we call our local projects, then also our flood warning system. And I'll touch a bit upon our the larger Chehalis Basin strategy. And what we hope to do is sort of kind of demystify some of the language that perhaps you're hearing out there. There's a lot of different cooks in the pot. There's the Flood Authority, the Chehalis Basin Board, the Chehalis Strategy, and I hope to try to put some of that in context for you. Next slide. Okay, so the Chehalis River Basin Flood Authority. So we were sort of like the first organization on the scene. Formed in 2008 after the 2007 flood. I don't know if any of you were around then or remember it. It was a flood of epic proportion. And the legislature was clear that they wanted us to focus on flood hazard reduction projects that would be informed by science. And when I say that in particular, I'm talking about hydraulic understanding how water moves in the basin. And so in particular, we want projects that are effective for our local communities, but we want projects that also don't impact other communities. And the Flood Authority as a body is very mindful of doing projects that don't impact one another. There are the three counties, Grace Harbor County, Lewis County, and Thurston County on the Flood Authority, and then you can see the cities that are associated with in those jurisdictions. You'll note that Hoquiam joined in 2017, and then Cosmopolis joined in 2011, and everyone else was there beginning in 2008. Next slide. Oh, I'm sorry. There we go. Thank you. So the first area that Flood Authority does that I wanted to share with you is what we call local projects. You've heard, I'm sure, of the proposed flood retention structure in the upper basin, the dam. That's a big project. Local projects are projects that are effective for our communities, that can be done in 2 to 4 years. They're projects to initially protect important infrastructure that you'll need post-flood. We want our communities to be resilient and respond from floods. So we protected drinking water wells. We protected wastewater treatment plants. We had projects to ensure passage for emergency vehicles, things of that sort, so that our communities can weather through the next major flood, and they can also respond for the next major. Oh, and I'm sorry, just back a second. And you'll see through the state capital budget that upwards of about $50 million has come to the Flood Authority for purposes of local projects. Next slide. So local projects, here's a map, just shows some images. They tend to cost on average about $700,000 if you took all the ones that have been done. They take about 2 years to complete. We tend to want to do a study project first, to be followed subsequently by a construction project if the study project proves there's really a project to be had. And we tend to think that the local projects can be remarkably effective. So, for example, in the middle of your screen there's the green grassy swale. That's the PL wastewater treatment plant. We paid about $350,000, $400,000 for a berm that would be planted, and it was engineered so that the Chehalis River wouldn't do what it did in 2007, which was overflow its banks and flow through the brand new PL wastewater treatment plant, so the public had to buy it twice. This has proved to be very effective for $400,000, and you save multiple millions. Likewise, the pictures of homes there, those are from Bucota, where we did a pilot where we put flood vents in people's homes so that the flood waters could come in and come out in their crawl spaces rather than toppling their foundations. And so the perspective of local projects is, how do we do things to help communities? Lastly, on the lower right-hand side, for example, is a pump, and pumps are very important down this part of the basin. That's a pump in Chehalis Airport, and that pump failed. The original 1940 pump failed in 2007, forcing the Corps of Engineers to have to breach the dike to get all the water out and send all that water down to your communities. This pump cost $1 million, and it is right now protecting, and it had proved to be effective, in excess of $100 million of insured value that generates a healthy, sizable tax revenue every single year. And the project is really basically more or less paid for itself to the state capital budget. When we think about local projects, they're effective, they're cost efficient, and they have very good return on investment. Next slide. This is kind of small, but essentially, this is an analysis that we did in 2020 on 2019 data. I'm going to update it, but essentially it's saying that, for the Chehalis process, there's been an excess of, $30 to $50 million of a direct investment on the ground here in Grace Harbor County. And so that means jobs, that means protection, that means habitat projects, really quite a lot of investment, and we'll talk a bit more about that. Next slide. So what does this mean for Aberdeen? So some of the projects that we have supported to get going or to do, the first is Fry Creek. That project came to the Flood Authority back in 2015 or 16, and through a whole series of studies and design and engineering, which have been funded in multiple phases. The project now is at a significant milestone where there's going to be a very large pump placed that has a very good fish and tidal gates, and it's going to be state of the art and protect your communities and get the flood water out. Next. Another project that the Flood Authority started, and this one came back when Larry Bledsoe was your Public Works Director, to be followed by Malcolm Bowie, and we stitched together a whole series of projects that ultimately became the North Shore Levee. And the picture you see in the upper right, the Timber Works master plan, that was a very effective planning process that was done with the support of Grace Harbor County to essentially envision a world for Aberdeen and Hoquiam after the levees were in place, and the retention of all that money that flows out for local flood insurance that can stay in your community and what your community can become. It's really remarkable. And again, the notion of return on investment, if you think about what this levy is going to cost and really how much tax revenue can be saved by bolstering your economy because you have a community that won't flood, as well as that money that's yours that's not going to have to leave the community anymore. I mean, it's really a wonderful example of flood and economy and people. Next. Likewise, we funded a project that is nearing completion, which is the Southside Levee certification. And really, this is just sort of it's not really a formality, but basically you're going to have 2 levees that are FEMA certified. And that's a good thing. That can give new people to your community confidence. It gives, it means a lot on the insurance side, and to have that certification for both of your levees is very valuable. Another one that's underway right now, next slide, the Farragut Street pump. Your existing pump is old, it's hard to get parts. If it breaks, it takes a while to come back online. And you're not in any different kind of condition than Hoquiam, or as Chehalis was with the airport pump. We have old infrastructure in the Chehalis Basin that needs to be upgraded. We are working, Rick Sanger and Nick Bird are working to design and permit a replacement and bring to us the final construction budget for inclusion in the governor's next budget. But pumps are really important for the lower basin. I mean, it's the way to get the water out, and we know they can be very cost effective. We are working with Cosmopolis, Hoquiam, and Aberdeen together to standardize pumps where possible, get the same kind of pumps, get the same kind of training, share parts, and be as cost efficient as we can. The Flood Authority takes very seriously the expenditure of state taxpayers' dollars, And we want to use those dollars in ways that the state taxpayers feel good about. Next slide. This one is a project that will be ready by by October, next flood season. Essentially, it's kind of an offshoot of our flood warning system, which we'll talk about next. But we have placed webcams around the basin in some strategic locations. And the idea is that a webcam will look at a river, the Chehalis River in this case, in reference to some sort of physical structure. So if you're a new person and you come to the basin and someone says it floods at 23, what does 23 mean, or 38, or 6? Well, this webcam will point to the Heron Street Bridge. We will have a staff gauge, a marker that will tell you. And so if you hear on the news, oh, it's going to be 6, well, you'll know what 6 means, or if it's going to be 8. And we'll just go to the next slide, the flood warning system. So those are physical projects to protect our communities. We also have really enjoyed some success, a flood warning system. And the 2007 storm was a surprise for people. It was not predicted in its severity and its timing. And looking back and understanding why, there were parts of the basin that didn't have river gauges and precipitation gauges that could have predicted this sort of, or measured this sort of rainfall and storm activity. And so in 2011, the Flood Authority in earnest started development of a flood warning system. And so that picture in the upper left, which is hard to read, but with all the dots on it, those are gauges owned by the USGS, the State Department of Ecology. The Flood Authority has 12. All those gauges are tied together with radio telemetry, ultimately feeding the National Weather Service. So when the Weather Service makes a forecast, they're getting information every few minutes about what's actually happening on the ground. And the accuracy of that forecast is spot on. That coupled now with the Doppler radar, thanks to Senator Cantwell, we should never be surprised ever again by what's coming. Likewise, this system, and there's a kind of an icon in the upper right-hand corner where you all, if you wish to, we offer a email alert program. And so you can click on that icon and you can sign up and you can select the gauges in the basin that you want to get alerts for. And so essentially the gauges are set so that about 1 foot to 2 feet below flood stage, you get an alarm, you get an email, and it says, hey, the river's rising and it's at X. And you can decide yourself, I think I'm gonna go get Aunt so-and-so and move her to another relative's house, or I'm gonna go to the basement and put my stuff up in the attic, or I'm gonna get my animals off the fields. Rather than wait for emergency management to tell you, you have to get out of here now, and you're in this totally reactive circumstance, we want you to be proactive. And I think most people would rather be proactive. And so, next slide. The 2022 flood event that we had record use of the flood warning system. Our flood warning system, truthfully, had not been tested, though it came online in 2011 or 12, 13, we kind of a series of years. It wasn't really tested in a big way because we haven't had a big flood. What you see on the tall bars, the middle one shows 75,000 hits to our mapping service over the course of a 3-day period. The left bar shows just general usage over the course of the year, and you'll see January was super high, or December, I think it is. And then the bars on the far right are the signups for our alarm system, and you can see that people are signed up to receive alarms from the upper basin all the way down to the lower basin. We just brought online this year a gauge on the Wishkov River that you all can sign up for. So the flood warning system is something that we are going to continue to invest in, and we realize it really is a first line of defense in good information. Next slide. Okay, so kind of moving towards closure here. The Flood Authority, the role of the Flood Authority, The number one role is to help local communities come up with flood hazard reduction solutions that work for those communities. Number two, this is where we talk a bit about some of the other actors in the basin. The Flood Authority appoints 3 members out of 7 to the Chehalis Basin Board. And so the Chehalis Basin Board is a board that got set up in 2016, and it sets the overall policy and funding for this large Chehalis strategy. And so Vicki is, Commissioner Rains is chair of the Chehalis Basin Board. She's also chair of the Flood Authority. And the board has 3 appointees by the Flood Authority, 2 appointees by the governor, and it has the 2 tribes, the Quinault Nation and the Chehalis. And that board is balancing habitat. They're balancing large structures like the proposed retention structure in the upper basin, local projects, but the Flood Authority has a very important role to appoint them into those members. The third thing about the Flood Authority, it is that local perspective. The Chehalis Basin Board, it's supported by the Office of Chehalis Basin, which is housed at the State Department of Ecology. It's a state agency. And as things become, necessarily so, sometimes more bureaucratic and larger, the local perspective can get lost. And in this case, the legislature, by virtue of the power to appoint people, has said there's a legitimacy to the local perspective. And this local perspective is a healthy presence in that larger state process. And then lastly, and then that's why there's this long list of hypertext, the Flood Authority advocates for balanced solutions around the basin. Habitat solutions in concert with physical projects to protect people and economies. And so that list there is our library of local resolutions that have been passed over many years by communities like yourselves, other, PL, Montesano, Dakota, Chehalis, Centralia, they have all passed resolutions favoring a balanced solution that looks at an upper basin structure all the way down to habitat improvements, all the way down to flood warning systems. And so there's no single solution that's going to fix, we're not going to fix flooding, we're going to fix how we live with it. And as the world changes and moves forward, there is a firm belief that the winters are going to get wetter. And so how we live with flooding is all the more important. And this local perspective of the Flood Authority is really what's going to be important for you. Next. So the Chehalis Basin strategy, I have one slide, and it's all of these, the thing that my takeaway on it, and there's a lot of levels to it, but all of these organizations are working towards common goals and common objectives, and they're supportive of one another. So you have the cities and local governments in the basin. You have Quinault Nation and the Chehalis tribe. You have state agencies. You have the Corps of Engineers. You have the legislature, the governor. It's really remarkable that all of these organizations are finding some kernels of commonality that keep them working together. And how do we know that this is really being effective? This basin has been able to sustain $70 million, $70 million, $50 million year after year, biennium after biennium of investment to come up with solutions. And the legislature is not going to fund at those kinds of levels for a rural community like ours if there isn't some sort of agreement. If there's controversy, the legislature has other places they can put their money. So you should be very pleased, as we all are, that this structure exists with the leaders that are associated with these organizations working all together on behalf of this basin. Next. So where are we today versus 2007? I think we're much better prepared. We are much more aware. We have a flood warning system that we didn't have. We have protection around a lot of important infrastructure that we didn't have. We have governance and administrative and funding structure that's really working well, that continues to deliver funding to this effort that ultimately, at the end of the day, will take money. Next. So looking ahead, a few things for you. The biggest controversial element of, I think, of this whole strategy is the Upper Basin retention structure, the dam. It is undergoing an environmental impact statement process right now. The drafts have been issued. The proponent, who is the Lewis County Flood Control District, is providing the Department of Ecology, who's doing one EIS, and the Corps of Engineers, who's doing the other EIS. The proponent is providing some refined information. The thinking is that there will be a final EIS in late 2022 or early 2023. From there, if the structure were to be built, it would need funding and it would need permitting. But that group of people are willing to not talk about rhetoric, they're willing to talk about real issues. And yes, there are concerns about fisheries. Yes, there are concerns about water. Yes, there's seismic concerns. There's concerns in the lower basin. But that process is the most rational process that this kind of a decision-making process has ever come to. And at the end of your presentation, there's a link to a visualization that would offer you the opportunity to see how this dam flood retention structure actually works, because it's open. It's a run of the river flows through it all the time, except for it closes when we have a real big event. And then it holds back the water, and then it opens and releases that water over a 30-day period. Take a look at that visualization. It really changes your mind about what this is. Or just sort of like a North Shore levee, you might think of a Mississippi-style levee. Well, that's not what it is. And so our language hangs ourselves up sometimes. And so anyway, also coming up, we're going to be doing a call for local projects here shortly. And Rick will know about it and he can submit projects. The Flood Authority meets every other month. You all are welcome anytime. The Basin Board meets monthly. And then lastly, I would encourage you, if you haven't, to sign up for our flood warning alerts. As Deanne said the other day, even if you're safe, it's interesting to see what's happening above us and how the hydrographs are going up and down. So next. Our key contacts for you, Vicki Raines is chair of the Flood Authority and the Chehalis Basin Board. Edna Fund is the vice chair of the Flood Authority, and she's also on the Chehalis Basin Board. She's a former Lewis County Commissioner. Deanne Shaw is your representative and represents you well, and I'm staff to the Flood Authority. So with that, I'll be happy to take any questions. Deanne, I don't know if you want to say anything.
Not seeing any questions, I would just offer thanks to Scott and share with my fellow council members the high degree of respect I have for the information that comes to the Flood Authority in our decision-making process. And, the Chehalis Basin, counties and cities and boundaries where all came after, the basin operates how it wants. And this is an organization that tries to respect the basin as a whole, and we all come together as different entities to look at it. And I've just, it's been my pleasure to represent Aberdeen on an organization that tries so hard to recognize good governance and respect all of our everything that each of our different entities brings to the table. And I'm just glad that council had a chance to hear from Scott, so that as things come to us from the Flood Authority, and as you hear Director Sanger talk to us about things they are supporting on our behalf, you get a sense of the quality of work that's taking place on our behalf. So thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Scott tonight? Can I ask you once more to share how you can sign up for alerts?
In your presentation, there's a link at at the back. Or if your presentation is on your computer, you can press on that icon and there will be or you can go to www.chehalisriverflood.com. That's probably better for.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah. So it was a hard act to follow after the chief, but thank you for your.
Always difficult, right? Thanks, Scott. All right, next on the agenda, we have department head updates. Are there any updates from our department heads tonight? I see Director Barnum, hi.
Hello, thank you. I'm going to share my screen. There we go. So a few things, what's happening in the Parks Department. Just a reminder again that our summer park and play program has started in our parks, North End Park, Pioneer Park, Finch Park, and Peterson Playfield. That's Monday through Friday from 11 to 2. We serve lunch, snacks, there's library books and activities. Thank you to the YMCA of Grays Harbor and to the Aberdeen Timberland Library. And then July 9th through 15th, our local Aberdeen Little League has the honor of hosting one of the district tournaments, and that will be held at Pioneer Park for a week. This weekend is our Coastal Fast Pitch League's All-Star Tournament at the Bishop Athletic Complex. And lastly, I wanted to thank Windermere of Grays Harbor. They selected the Aberdeen Parks Department for their community service project this year. And they partnered with the Bloom team and they went downtown. And as you can see, it wasn't a sunny day and we still had a really large group that went out and cleaned up downtown Aberdeen. So we appreciate that. And then Splash Festival is coming. It's nice to finally see the sun. So I'm hoping that's going to stick around for the 4th of July. It's on Monday, July 4th. It will be held at the Grays Harbor Historical Seaport Landing at 500 North Custer Street. Starts at noon. There's activities all day long. We'll have the inflatable rides for the kids, which are free. We've got magicians, Trevor and Lorena. We've got a comedy performer. There'll be free dockside tours of the Lady Washington. There's also an opportunity to buy tickets to go on the Lady Washington for an adventure sail. Then live music begins at 6 p.m. There's a fireworks dockside viewing that starts at 9 p.m. You also would need to purchase tickets for that. All the tickets can be purchased on the Grays Harbor Historical Seaport's website. And then the fireworks begin at 10. And also throughout the day, there will of course be food and craft vendors, beer and wine garden, and free kids games and activities. You can find more information on the Aberdeen Parks and Recreation's website at aberdeenwa.gov. And it's also available on an event page that was created on Facebook. And that's all that I have. Thank you.
Thanks, Director. Other department head updates, Director Singer.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, just real quick, we wanted, Scott made reference to it, but the Fry Creek Pump Station, we're gonna have a ceremonial groundbreaking on July 7th. That every council member got an email. I just wanted you to look at your inbox and address that so that you are aware of when it is and where to meet and where to park. So that was it.
Thank you. Other department head updates? I don't see anybody on Zoom. I don't see anyone in the back running to the front. I don't see Chief Shoemate. All right, Mayor Shave, it's your turn.
Thank you. I have a couple of things. You know what? Being this is Chief Shoemate's last council meeting, I think we should give him his nameplate too.
Present it to us.
Yeah. For service well done, I present you your nameplate.
Awesome, thank you, Mr. Mayor, I appreciate
Carry that with you, I'll never forget. Let's see, a couple of things. I also would like to recognize the wastewater treatment plant staff. Letter from Department of Ecology congratulating the Aberdeen wastewater treatment plant staff for receiving wastewater treatment plant outstanding performance award again. This has happened many, many times. Our crew does a great job down there. Of course, everybody likes to hear about the wastewater treatment plant, but they do a great job, so I want to bring that up. Lastly, part of the Aberdeen Lake Road is going to be closed. I just read this. Oh, June 28th and June 29th because of some logging activities. So it's the the west road. West entrance will be closed. I'd pass that on. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mayor. Non-standing committee reports. Any updates from council members this evening?
Got a quick meeting.
Yes, go ahead.
On the 14th of June, I went on a tour of the Lakeside Industry asphalt plant that our Chehalis Riverkeeper organized. And it was really interesting to see just how clean that plant is and how well they have planned for surface water runoff. And they are the only, maybe there's one other, but they have this really efficient sediment filter so that anything that does come off their site runs through this filter, and all the water that goes out from there into the river is tested for sediments and pH and various other chemicals. And it's really an outstanding facility. A couple of folks had come from Olympia to see this, and some of our public works staff were there as well. So that was pretty dang cool. Yesterday, I was actually on vacation and went to Lake Aberdeen and ran into a couple of those big trucks. So I'm glad to hear that West Road is closed or will be closed. But there were a group of gentlemen there, and one of them had landed a 4-pound trout. So it was just a lovely day and a proud event to share with my guests. Thank you.
Thank you. Other updates from council members? I will share that during our finance committee meeting earlier, we determined that there is a 5th Wednesday this month, so we need to make a decision at the end of council if we are going to hold a council meeting on the 5th Wednesday or cancel. So I will bring that up during council comment for council's consideration. And seeing no further updates from council, I will adjourn the committee of the whole and hand things over to the mayor.
Thank you. This is Mayor Shave, and it's Wednesday, June 22nd, 2022 at 8:05. And I call the Aberdeen City Council meeting to order. Deputy Clerk, will you do a roll call, please?
Obi,
Here.
Ellis,
Here.
Rancy,
Here.
Dakin,
Here.
Catchman,
Here.
Lawrence,
Here.
Mackey,
Here.
Morrison, Garcini,
Here.
Ross.
Here.
Shaw. Here. Taylor,
Here.
Shay.
Here.
Thank you.
Deputy Clerk, will you just notate for the record that councilperson Ross is joining us via Zoom tonight?
Yes.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is flag salute, and again, because it's his last council meeting, I'd like to ask Chief Schumate if he would honor us by leading us in the flag salute.
Be honored. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mayor Shave, I make a motion that we approve the minutes from the previous meeting.
Second,
Thank you. Motion was made and seconded to approve the minutes of the previous meeting. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Are there any additions or deletions? Okay, hearing nothing, I will move on to public comments on agenda items. Items that are on the agenda.
Hi there, I'm Antara Croft from Ward 4, and I just had a few thoughts about the agenda item of the Gateway Center. And well, it's just come to my attention that the master plan lease agreement is going to be for 15 years, which sounds a pretty long time, and charging the museum only $1, and then having a renewal of 10 years for the city, paying for all the expenses. And I've become aware that the library also has a lease like this too. Since 1985 or 1983, the library pays no money at all, and we pay for all the utilities and such also. So just noting that the city of Aberdeen is a Dun & Bradstreet for-profit corporation that you want to do, positive revenues instead of just taxing the people. How long are we going to be into leases like this without receiving revenues? If we have expenses, we want to have revenues too. And so I'm just wondering what the incentive is for the city of Aberdeen to bring in business and aesthetic value like this Chehalis River. We want to make the river look beautiful, not only functional. We want aesthetic value too, where like instead of a rusty wall of a barrier, we could have levees where people could walk alongside the river and be functional. They do it in Sacramento. It's a whole levee system along the river. American River Bike Trail, 30 miles long. It's amazing, and people use it all the time. So I just like to see if you would consider just putting off this decision to get into a lease for a full 15 years and consider possibilities like if the library and the museum, which we want both, we need both. We love the museum, I love the history. We need to promote the history of Aberdeen. That maybe take a percentage of their grants that they get, millions of dollars. What if we took 0.5% of grants that they receive, to pay for some of their rent? And so hopefully, maybe we could just consider tabling the Gateway Center for a while and consider what that analyst said about the RV park. The RV park for $2 million versus $16 million for the Gateway Center. And that would be a source of revenue. And diesel is not going to be a problem forever. It's going to turn around and people are still hacking into these RV parks. So I hope you would consider that and just look at the city of Aberdeen as a business sense, looking at revenues and expenses, that we do want some income besides just taxing the people. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Kathy Thomas, Ward 5, and I really don't even.
Well, there you go.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Everybody, I got hearing aids and I don't know if I can hear them or not.
You just gotta speak into the mic fairly close there.
So, I don't know, I was told that this Gateway Center started, like either 11 or 13 years ago, and we've been working on this. And it was going to be a welcoming center for tourists and everything else. But the question came up that, people don't go to Chamber of Commerce anymore. They use their phone. And so that was all discussed, and then they hired this rock company, which I'm amazed that they're not here tonight. And they have put a lot of effort into it, and March 22nd, we got this beautiful pamphlet and told about all it was going to be, and told us that they need 7 million, and now they need another 16.15 million. And this is to build a building that we don't even have, nor do we have the money to build this. So why? I mean, see this, I have spent a lot of money and time making all this information up and going around visiting people and letting people know what the city is planning. Because the people in Aberdeen do not know what the city plans. It's all talk behind closed doors, and it's all special meetings, and you can't find a thing out. Okay, so then, this was March 22nd, so I really worked hard on studying this and wrote it all down and spent a lot of money on, I even got them little plastic flyers that I took to businesses and everything. And then lo and behold, I looked Monday on the schedule and it's a whole new program. Now we're going to go a whole new route, and it has to be done today, the 22nd of June. Must sign this tonight. 15 years and 10 years extension for an organization that I was told has been around forever, Grace Harbor Historic Alliance. I tried to look up and find it. I couldn't find anything about it. I found the man's name and I looked up and saw some comments about
30 seconds.
business. And we don't need it. We need to think about this. Why jump into something that this is pie in the sky, that it was decided, 3 or 4 days ago? Does the city people know about it? No, they know nothing about it. All of a sudden, we're going to convince someone that the city's going to pay the taxes, the city's going to pay the insurance, and they're going to get $1 a year for 15 years to build a building that we don't even need, that we can't even put anything in, and it's all going to be 501c3 people, which is nothing but charity. We need businesses in this town. We don't need any more 501c3s. We've got a ton of them.
Thank you.
I'm getting told, so I'm going to say excuse. John Shaw, I'm a citizen of Aberdeen. I'm also the chair of the museum, Aberdeen Museum Board, and I'm one of the people who have suggested that the Aberdeen City Council enter into a master lease with the Grays Harbor Historical Alliance. The city has run for about 4 years trying to figure out a way to push the gateway over the top. And one of the core problems is the city's never come up with a really clear way to identify how to operate it, how it's going to operate. The city is well on the record that it does not want to operate it through the cost of staff. Operating a location like this has a real track record of being able to be run by nonprofits. That's the best way for the city to do it. And yes, cities have museums and libraries, and they have special arrangements with them that are not profit-based, because museums and libraries are not private businesses that make money. They are operations that we want to improve our downtowns and our business community, to attract business. So this is really, and the reason for it coming on soon is there a realistic financial gain to be had by a series of grant requests that are in this cycle. And that's the only reason for the push, is there's virtually millions of dollars for the construction of the gateway that hang on the ability to apply for a series of grants. This has been frogging around for a long time, looking for a way to operate it, and this is a very reasonable way. And it's not going to cost the taxpayers more money. The goal that ROC has set out and is fed back to the city is to take the up to 7 million and with a plan of operation, come up with the rest of the funding to build and then operate at a non-ongoing cost to the city. So it's a very reasonable thing for the city to understand and do. The Gateway came about after years of very robust community planning, and some people may not have been here when that was going on, or may not have been listening. It was a very robust process. And so the idea that this is something we don't need, it was identified as a core need for Aberdeen to turn it around, its downtown core area, by a large group of citizenry, and funded by the state, excuse me, close to $3 million, because it's a good idea. And it's been funded by the city council. We need to stay the course, and
30
there's certain
seconds.
details to work out. But it's a perfectly good idea to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Make it quick, Tara Meredith, Ward 4. Just some thoughts about the Gateway Center. We do need new building and construction and forward progress downtown, and I support that. I was listening in on the conversations years ago, as John spoke of. It's been well thought out and well planned out, and we put so much money into this. To backpedal now and go back on it's a bad idea. It's been nice to see the progress on the roundabout in Aberdeen. This is also a good thing, so I applaud the council for the efforts that you've made on these endeavors, because they will help our city move forward and have new growth. A question that came to mind as I was listening to the presentation earlier from the Chehalis River Basin Flood Authority, and the comment that Antara made about what's along the Sacramento River and it being a place that people can come and ride bikes on or walk on. It'd be nice to hear a presentation about what exactly that levee is going to look like. Maybe there was a presentation that's been given and I just haven't heard it, but it would be nice to know what that will look like along our river and in our city here. And doing something that would invite tourism and beautification to our area would be a wise design for the river. Those are just some thoughts that I have on the mission. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else want to speak on an agenda item? Seeing none. Oh, I see Ellen. Okay.
You're looking down something. Alan Richard, Zone 5, if you understand the movie reference. Just as a point of reference, the discussion on the Gateway Center was a public discussion in this very room, and it was in 2015, just a historical reference. And one of the components of the Gateway Center would be a business incubator, which we don't have. You talk about the need for starting and operating new businesses. We don't have that infrastructure. And a business incubator is a set of tools that consists of specific items, such as a networking center where people can get to know each other that they probably don't even know, who are in similar situations, and they can make acquaintances with important people that they need to make acquaintances with. It includes a maker space, office space that a business can use that they don't have the money to set up their own or in their own home. They can use this space. There's upper level education and training, and including everything from business classes to business accounting, marketing, business law, all of that, and the SBDC is represented. Mia Johnstone at the college is really good at that, and that's her job, but she is not a business incubator. Mentoring, we get a hold of, you can get access to entrepreneurs such as SCORE, the Service Corps of Retired Executives, and those people give their time to help small businesses and medium-sized businesses, new entrepreneurs get into the whole business of starting business. And experiential learning, these people will be able to impart their experiences that they've had in the businesses that want to start up. You want to start a restaurant, you get experiential learning from people who have run restaurants. and legal help. There's a legal department that brings in business law, which is very complex. And if you think that's complex, talk about patent law. Many lawyers run screaming when you mention that. And that would be available through a business incubator.
30 seconds.
Also, access to capital, angel investors, venture capitalists, other types of financial organizations that people may not even know about. You'd have access to that. But the reason I bring this up is you can't repeat.
This doesn't look good.
No, I can hear you and I see Deb moving her head, so
Yeah.
that's weird.
But I can't, we got out of the meeting somehow.
I think we're still in. I see it's still recording in the upper corner.
Oh, I do too. I'm not sure
Yeah.
what happened to everybody else.
Yeah, somehow Danny is now the host.
Well, thank God Ross is here, Mr. IT.
It looks like everybody that's zooming in is still on.
So we
we
lost our
can't hear the
connection to
meeting.
City Hall.
What was that?
We just lost our connection to City Hall.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Well, I will volunteer to leave and try and rejoin, see if I go in.
Okay.
And then I'll text you
That's
if
a
I
good
get
idea.
in.
That's a good idea.
Patricia just said it is frozen on the city's end.
So should we just hang tight and see if we get back in?
I will ask her. Yeah, Rick's coming back onto this one.
I see.
Well, that didn't work.
No, Patricia said it was frozen on their end. And I asked her, oh, here comes the city clerk. Becca, can you hear us? Oh.
Now we can. We're just showing you what could happen with our IT.
Okay.
We're back.
So
Yours not coming up.
I'm moving the meeting to the Finance Committee, Committee Chair report.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't think my mic is it on?
Really talking to it.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor. The Finance Committee met at 6 p.m. this evening. And we have two reports to talk about. One report is compassion only that pertains to the Gateway Center, and the other requires a vote. So I move that we approve expenses.
I second it.
Thank you. Motion was made and seconded to approve the expenditures payroll. Deputy Clerk, that's a roll call vote, please.
I just wanted to see if you'd say it. Motion to approve accounts payable in the total amount of $696,255.27 and payroll in the total amount of $84,183.63. Check numbers 25516 through 25542, 77775 through 77922, and wires 1358 through 1362. Obi?
Yes.
Ellis?
Yes.
Ramsey?
Yes.
Bacon? Catchman?
Yes.
Lawrence?
Yes.
Mackey?
Yes.
Morrison?
Yes.
Fairchiनी?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
Shaw?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Motion approved, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Okay, the first report from Finance and the Gateway Center Steering Committee recommending that the mayor be authorized to sign the master lease agreement with Grace Harbor Historical Alliance, GHHA. The Finance Committee would like the council to just have some discussion on this. We'd like to hear your thoughts after talking with the consultant individually and to get a sense of what questions remain out there. I know I had a number of questions after reading the lease agreement. And I've heard other concerns about the time length and the Grace Harbor Historical Alliance. But I think it is important to remember that this project has been in the works for a very long time. Just like the levee project, it takes a long time to get something off the ground or planning. And I recognize that our consultant team is still actively working to put together their plan, which they promised us would not require the city to spend money to further money to build this or to keep it going. And I think because we have such an investment in this project, a lot of merit in doing what we need to do so that they can continue to aggregate the funds to show that it will work, or they come back to us and say, this just didn't happen, and then cross that bridge when we get to it. The urgency of having us consider this agreement is that there's a grant fund that only comes around every 2 years. And so that's why there's interest in applying for this grant money, which could potentially bring in a couple $2 million. So, Council President Cashman, would you like to take it from here?
Sure. So,
Before we proceed, Council President Cashman, Nurse Davis, Finance Chair Ellis, I need to excuse myself as I have a potential conflict of interest depending on what the council decides. So I'm going to excuse myself from the meeting for now.
Thank you. I'm confused. The floor's open right now discussing this issue, but there's been no motion made.
that's correct. According to Robert's Rules of Order, we can have discussion on an item without a motion being on the table.
Right, okay. Thank you for your
And that was-
clarification.
Yeah, that was what Finance Committee discussed tonight as a good path forward so that everyone can get on the same page, because as I understand, there's been several one-on-one meetings with council members in Rock Creek and potentially some other people that were out there. There's also some council members that are, to be frank, frustrated at the way that the communication has occurred, and would have preferred a larger workshop or something so that we could collaboratively discuss what has been going on with the Gateway Center and really understand and have the floor open for the council to hear all of the questions that are out there and benefit from the answers to questions that they might not have even thought about. So based off of the feedback that we'd received, that is really where we're at. Along with what many other people have voiced, I know with the agreement itself, I have some concerns in terms of the length of the agreement. I think it would also be appropriate with a lease agreement of this length and magnitude to have some sort of representation on a board, whether it be city personnel or a council member, and a few other things with the item itself. But as somebody had mentioned before, this was a priority that was identified back in 2013, and a whole lot has changed since then, not only in our community, but with some of the priorities for our community as well. And while the city has not set priorities in stone, I don't know that the Gateway Center would rank in the top 2 or 3. So having this go before other items that are out there, it certainly gives me pause, and I'm sure it gives other council members pause as well. Additionally, along the way, the plans, since we did the feasibility study back in 2015-ish, have also changed too. And so that gives me pause again with the viability of the project. And there's been a lot of pivots and turns along the way. Now we have this Maker Center and this idea of combining in with the museum building. And I certainly want to understand from the council if that is the direction. And I haven't heard if that's what the city is on board with either. So I feel like Rock Creek has uncovered every stone, and the steering committee agrees. And this is where we're at right now. And so I think there has to be that check. Is everyone still on board with that? And is this a priority that we need to act on immediately? The grant funding, I understand it has a large match associated with it. It does come around every couple of years, but if we do not take action on this and sign this master lease agreement, then that is one more funding opportunity that is not city dollars that we also are putting aside too.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I think that we have other priorities that should come before the Gateway. And the fact that last month, it was a different plan than this month. And it's being offered by a 501c3 that's not even active. This is a brand new 501c3 that plans on managing this building that isn't even existing for the next 15 years. That the city's willing to sign a contract to have a problem with that. I think that we just have other priorities that are more important. I think that $7 million could be used in other areas. And to some people, that's just a drop in the bucket, but it's a lot of money. We need 2 new fire departments. We need a police department. We're going to be working on a water. There are just so many things. And this is not a priority, in my opinion.
Councilmember Ellis, you still have the floor.
Thank you. I recognize that in my thinking as well, there are other higher priorities, certainly. Public safety and the levy project are certainly high priorities in my thinking for capital projects. But if this project can pay for itself and won't require added funds, then I think it deserves a shot, at least to either prove itself that it can happen on its own, or that it's just not going to be viable, in which case we should know that by fall. And there are a lot of community interests potentially that would contribute to this. Number of entities, I think the Downtown Association would love to see it go forward. It does have a lot of support from both the state and our congressional representatives who have said they'll find money for it. So I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater quite so soon, given we've come so far. But I also believe it definitely has to be a workable project. And I would like to see us give it a little bit more time to show that it either is going to make it or break it. And then we can move on, and we've done our due diligence. But to put the kibosh on it at this point, I think would be premature and unfortunate.
I just wonder if council has any feedback on, based off of what they know about the Gateway Center and the direction that it's heading, if they have any feedback on if they like the direction that it's heading, do they have recommendations?
Seems like the direction that it's going is ever evolving. The goalposts keep moving, plans keep changing, and I'm really concerned this time with how this new plan was brought to the council, rushed through. I have a lot of concerns with the contract, and I would really like at least a little more time to have those questions answered by Rock Project Management, by Mr. Shaw. I just don't care for the way that this has been brought forth, and I understand that there's deadlines coming up, but I don't think this is the way to go. And the public hasn't even had an opportunity to look at these new plans the way that they have with the other ones. That's a concern for me. So.
I wonder if council would, excuse me.
Debbie.
Councilperson Ross.
Thank you. I have a statement that I had put together a couple of weeks ago about the Gateway Center. And I just want to read it to you, and I want you to think about it. Timing is extremely important, and we have been pushing this down the road for years, and we need to get moving on it and get it done. So the Gateway Center is an opportunity to stimulate the downtown to improve, to show the community our city is willing to invest in itself and provide a vision for others who are willing to do the same. A place for community development and government entities to act as a welcoming face to the community. A place for visitors to learn about the amazing things Aberdeen and Grays Harbor County have to offer. I believe this is vital to our community and its growth, and I think we need to move forward and let this happen. Thank you.
Stacy said that the bandwidth is low. The bandwidth is low.
Would it help if some of us disconnected?
I'm guessing so. Okay. We're working on a second Wi-Fi.
Council, it might help if you're in the room to disconnect from the Zoom so that people that are on the Zoom can continue to hear us.
From what I'm hearing, I'm wondering if there's interest in having a workshop to talk about this with the consultant and the other parties, either as the meeting in lieu of the meeting on the 29th, or it would be the first Wednesday of July, the 6th. I see a few nodding heads, so maybe I'll make a motion for that. I move that we continue this discussion into a workshop. That would be either the 29th of June or the 6th of July.
Second.
Motion was made, seconded to continue this subject of this report into a workshop on June 29th.
Or July 6th, depending on availability.
Council President Catchman.
I think that the 29th would be a good day. I'm looking at your calendar, that's the
Yeah.
Wednesday, right?
Right.
Yes. I think we should replace the city council meeting with a workshop on the Gate Center. I would amend the motion for that.
Okay. Motion, was it seconded to amend the motion?
I second it.
Okay. Motion was made, seconded to amend the motion. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
As amended.
As amended, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries, so we'll have a workshop on the Gateway June 29th, and that'll be 6:30, 6 o'clock.
In person or Zoom?
In person, yeah. Did we
I'll
decide
have to
6?
Zoom in or I cannot attend.
We'll set up a Zoom.
Thank
6 p.m.? Okay.
Geez, some people can't give their surfboard up for nothing.
Sorry, Mayor, this vacation was planned 2 years ago.
Mayor, continuing with the finance reports?
Can we invite Councilperson Shaw back in real quick?
Oh, sure. Yes,
We forgot. Welcome back.
Mayor, continuing on with the finance committee reports, we have a report from finance and the finance director recommending that the mayor be authorized to sign this time extension on the Next Level Networks LLC and VJAX LLC contracts, extending both to August 31st, 2022. I move we approve this report.
I second.
Motion was made, seconded to approve this report. Is there any
Yes.
under discussion?
So we have extended this contract 2 times already. Part of what's going on is a change in personnel. We've got still an RFP pending to hire a consultant who can help provide desktop services. And it sounds like if we extend this one more time, we will very likely be able to line up what we need, and that would be really super helpful.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And that's it from the finance committee. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And now we'll move on to Public Works Committee Chair report from Councilmember Shaw.
Mayor, I don't have a committee chair report tonight, other than to once again thank the flood authority for taking time to be with us tonight. We do not have any public hearings. Under reports and communications, We have a report from Public Works and the Public Works Director recommending that the mayor be authorized to sign the agreement with Gray and Osborne Incorporated Consulting Engineers to complete the operations and maintenance manual updates at this boogie at the wastewater treatment plant. I move we adopt this report.
Second. Thank you. Motion was made and seconded to adopt this report. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 2, we have a report from Public Works and the Public Works Director recommending that the City Council reject all bids and re-advertise the North Shore Levee Fry Creek Pump Station project. Public Works recommends that we adopt this report.
Thank you. Motion was made and seconded to adopt this report. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Report number 3, we have a report from Public Works and the Public Works Director recommending that the Public Works Director be authorized to upgrade and refurbish the Public Works Administration Center's HVAC system as recommended by the manufacturer's authorized agent for a not to exceed budget of $20,000 plus tax. We recommend that the council adopt this report.
Thank you. Motion was made and seconded to adopt this report. Is there any discussion? Under discussion, Council President Catchman.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify with a question. So it is in the budget for 2022, however, the amount is for 15,000. So an additional 5,000 is being requested for the project, is that it?
I believe it was in the,
Rick
budget.
is,
Go
Rick
ahead,
is
Rick.
on.
Katie, I didn't realize it got moved forward. It was in the budget for last year, and we didn't think it got moved forward to this year. So if it got moved forward to this year, the actual quote that came in was for under 15,000, but we haven't gone through the procurement yet. So we have to put it out for a bid. So we weren't sure where it was going to come out, or if the person or if the company that gave us the original quote was going to bid it. So we wanted to work in a $5,000 buffer there, just so we didn't have to come back to council if it turned out to be higher than we anticipated. So yes, it would. If that's the case, it would be for 5,000, and there would not be a need for a supplemental. There's plenty of money in operations to cover that 5,000.
Okay, the reason I asked is because in the report, it says that in budget, yes.
It was in the budget last year.
Okay. So
And
not in.
and due to the supply chain, we couldn't get the equipment that we needed last year, so it didn't get ordered until, or it hasn't been ordered yet, but it's available now, so we'd like to order it now. And yeah, so it was in the budget last year.
So is the need at the moment because it's in supply right now and it might not be if we hold off until 2023's budget?
It'll be available in 2023 as well. It was needed in 2021, so it's still needed in 2022, and to wait till 2023, yeah, that could be done as well.
Council President Cashman, the bottom line is that $20,000 is within his spending, and he was just trying to be informative and make sure that we understood that he was planning to carry through with the project. And so Public Works agreed to bring this forward because it was almost informational.
No, that makes sense. I was just confused with the way that the report was written, what the ask was and where the money was and wasn't budgeted for 2022.
Councilmember Ellis.
And I don't want to make this even more difficult, but it occurred to me that maybe if it were possible to combine HVAC repairs, and I'm thinking of the need for a new furnace at the log pavilion at Morrison Park, could we get some leverage on maybe a discounted price with 2 for 1?
If you're talking to me, I have no idea what you said, Liz. I
No,
can't
I was
understand a
just-
single word.
So if Director Sanger didn't hear that, I certainly think with both projects approved, that since you've raised that, I have faith that our department heads would look at that.
Yeah. We'll put our heads together and see if that can be done. That's a
Very
good point. Okay, where are we at?
We have a motion on the floor.
Okay, any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 4 from Public Works, we have a report from Public Works and the Public Works Director recommending that the City Council adopt a resolution adopting the revised and extended 6-year transportation improvement plan for the years 2023 through 2028. We move to adopt this report.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to adopt this report. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Item number 5, we have a report from Public Works and the Public Works Director recommending that the City Council pass an ordinance vacating, I think this is like the 4th meeting in a row I've done this, but okay, here we go. Vacating the 20-foot wide alley right-of-way for a length of approximately 100 lineal feet legally described as between the north and south half of the alley in Aberdeen, Ben's Plat, between lots 5 to 6 and 7 to 8 of Block 37, Section 9, Township 17 North, Range 9 West, West Meridian. We move to adopt this report.
Second.
Transit station.
Motion was made and seconded to adopt this report. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. That concludes our reports. We'll move on to resolutions. We have a resolution adopting a revised and extended 6-year transportation improvement plan, including proposed improvements to those streets for which arterial street funds and federal funds, if available, will be expanded for the years 2023 through 2028. I move we adopt this resolution.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to approve the resolution. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
This will be resolution 2022-10.
So moving on to ordinances, this is an ordinance relating to report number 5, which is first reading of Bill 2020-22-09, an ordinance vacating the alley between lots 5 and 6 and 7 and 8, Block 37, Ben's Plat, Section 9, Township 17 North, Range 9 West, West Meridian. I move we approve the first reading.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to approve the first reading of this ordinance. Any discussion?
Mayor Shave?
Yes.
I would just clarify for those who are, don't know where the 9 West, West Meridian is, that this is a proposal for us to allow transit station to make improvements down there in downtown at their main station.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The first reading has passed.
Thank you, Mayor. That is everything from Public Works.
Thank you. Public Safety Committee Chair Report from Councilmember Ross.
Thank you, Mayor Shea. Public Safety met this evening at 6:30, and we have nothing on the agenda, but I do want to give the reports from each department. So beginning with the Aberdeen Fire Department, firefighter Austin Wendt has successfully completed the paramedic program through Tacoma Community College. Once he receives his certification, he will be added to the paramedic roles for the Aberdeen Fire Department. And Assistant Chief Golding had mentioned that this was the first firefighter that they had sent to paramedic school, and they're very pleased with his progress. The Aberdeen Fire Department has also extended a job offer to new firefighter paramedic Tim Crusay. His first day will be Monday, July 11th. This brings the department staffing up to 100% of the budgeted positions. The Central Grays Harbor Regional Fire Authority is continuing to work on this effort and now includes the city of Cosmopolis. Fire Service Specialist Monica Myers has announced her retirement effective September 9th. She was hired into the position from the line firefighter staff when it was created. She has been invaluable in assisting the department and our community, providing public education, fire safety activities, and connecting those in need with necessary services. She will be greatly missed. Also, the Aberdeen Fire Department has been notified that Chad Mittenleiter will be an honoree at this year's National EMS Memorial Service to be held July 22nd through the 24th in Arlington, Virginia. The service will be live streamed on the National EMS webpage and Facebook. Moving on to the Aberdeen Police Department. Our Grays Harbor County Drug Task Force, comprised of detectives from Aberdeen Police Department, Hoquiam Police Department, and the Grays Harbor County Sheriff, recently received Agency of the Year honors from Western States Information Network. Thank you to the local drug task force for working hard to target mid to upper level drug dealers. The team is supervised by Aberdeen Police Department Sergeant Darren King. The police departments of Aberdeen and Hoquiam, in coordination with Grays Harbor County Public Health, have been successful with another grant to fund a substance abuse disorder police navigator in our jails. This position assists with jail-based case management and reentry programming. Applications are being accepted by the city of Hoquiam. Detective Jason Perkinson has announced his retirement. His last day of work will be June 29th. He has served 29 years in the profession. The agency has now lost 8 commissioned police officers in the last 7 months. They represent a combined total of 240 years of law enforcement service. And also, this is Chief Shoemate's last meeting, and I just want to say congratulations on his retirement, and it's been a pleasure working with you. Thank you, Chief Shoemate. And that's it for public safety this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. And I'll just want to clarify one thing. All of those officers retired. They didn't go elsewhere, so
Right.
we're not losing
Thank you.
officers.
Thank you for that comment.
But we could be. Special agenda
Are we
item.
ready for special agenda items? We have 6 special agenda items and an ordinance, so I'm gonna get going through them. First of all is a report from personnel and the Human Resources Director recommending that the City Council adopt the recommendation of the advancement in paid leave schedule and longevity pay premium for 20 years of service for Ross Lamkey effective March 7th of 2022. I move that we accept this report.
Second, Ellis.
Motion was made and seconded to adopt this report. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Next is a report from Personnel and the Human Resources Director recommending that the City Council appoint Police Commander Dale Green to interim Police Chief and authorize a pay increase of 5% above the Deputy Police Chief's salary effective July 1st, 2022. Also authorizing the mayor to extend this pay increase until a police chief is hired. I move that we accept this report.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to accept this report. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 3 is a report from Personnel and the Human Resources Director recommending that the City Council adopt the authorization for temporary paid assistance from the former Fire Chief Tom Hubbard as requested, not to exceed 40 hours per month for the period of July 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2022. I move that we accept this report.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to accept this report. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries.
Next is a report from Personnel and the Human Resources Director recommending that the city council adopt the authorization for temporary paid assistance from the soon-to-be former police chief, Steve Shoemate, as requested, not to exceed 40 hours per month for the period of July 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2022. I move that we accept this report.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to accept this report. Is there any discussion? Somebody ought to poo-paw on this. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries.
We heard the 240 hours of years of police work at his retiring. Yes. And item number 5 is a report from Personnel and the Human Resources Director recommending that the City Council adopt the job description and create the job classification for Community Development Floodplain Coordinator. I move that we accept this report.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to accept this report. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And item number 6 under reports is a report from Personnel and the Human Resources Director recommending that the City Council authorize the Public Works Director to hire an additional wastewater treatment plant operator and 2 provisional employees. I move that we accept this report.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to accept this report. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And under ordinances is the 3rd reading and final passage of Bill number 22-06, an ordinance amending AMC Code Section 2.64.020 relating to Aberdeen Board of Museum and History meetings. I move that we accept the 3rd reading and place this bill in final passage.
Motion was made and seconded to pass the 3rd reading of this bill. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote, please.
Obi,
Yes.
Ellis,
Yes.
Francie,
Yes.
Gaken,
Yes.
Catchman,
Yes.
Lawrence,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
Morrison,
Yes.
Arcini,
Yes.
Ross.
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Taylor.
Yes.
Motion approved, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
This will be ordinance 6685.
Okay. Now we're going to move on to public comments. Anything from the public you want to speak about?
I'm back at 3 o'clock, 4-4. I'd like to give you an update on the halfway house on 1504 Cherry Street, since the only update I got was from the city planner, Lisa Scott, stating that they were gonna turn off the water on the house, since the owner has not filed for the halfway house application or applied for a renter's license for a single family, and was petitioning for a search warrant to enter the house. Last week, the city turned off the water. I seen 2 new guys at this house. I'm not sure actually how many people live in this house now. People are constantly coming and going. It's hard to tell how many people are there. People who visit are always playing loud music, revving up their engines via their car or motorcycle when they pass by or stop to get somebody's attention in our house. The person in the white car revved their engine up the other night, and it was about 10:30 at night. I came out to look at the vehicle to see which one it was. The resident of that house came out and says, "Hey, was that blue Mustang?" I'm like, "What?" And as I watched the car turn the corner, I said, "No, it's the white car that comes and visits you all the time." He heard, a neighbor heard him say that he's not here to make friends. I witnessed the resident of the person on the motorcycle visits this person, the resident, and I seen them ride through our neighbor's yard. And then they raced by my other neighbor here without wearing a helmet, racing up 6th Street. They're working on the house late at night. Neighbors are hearing them hammering at 11 p.m. at night. They have company coming over late at night, talking loud, laughing in front or in the backyard. Another neighbor saw 2 flashlights in a vehicle that was parked across the street, thought somebody was breaking in. Not sure if it was somebody that was visiting, but then another person came out of that house with a flashlight also. They could have stolen the car, stripping it or doing whatever. And this was at 12:30 at night. They didn't get garbage service until last week. And when they did, they piled it mile high, stacked it in the street, animals got into it, ripped the bags apart, and garbage was everywhere. There's a truck in the driveway that's full of garbage. Was told by drug court officer Shane Swint that the house was approved for 11 people, for that house, 11, which they are planning to get filled. Officer Swint also said that he's not the one that makes the decision on the placement. I was told that the house was not approved for these residents since it hasn't passed the city yet. He told me it was a halfway house. There's 3 people on his caseloads and the other ones are DOC. They're the problem, he said. Was told also that Howard Vaughn is also looking for a house or buying one 2 or 3 blocks down on Cherry Street. He's planning on having 5 halfway houses now. He's already got 3 or 4 in place.
30 seconds.
Half the people in 1504 came from the 1217 East 2nd Street, which is now closed down. They had over 20 people in the house, was charging $250 a head, and people were sleeping in the garage. DOC does not know about these people because they're not registering with them. Now we're gonna get up to 8 houses in a 6-block radius. When are we gonna do something about this? Every time I talk to somebody in the ward, all I get is, I'm heading out of town, I'll talk to somebody next week, or we're waiting for legal. First time I came here, Mayor, you said, let's put a moratorium on this place, and now we're no better than where we were at when I first started here.
Time.
So we need to do something.
My name's Dave Moll. I'm Pat's neighbor. Street. I've been there for 30 years. And just like to validate everything that he has said. We talked about this yesterday, and so I've had some time to contemplate this. And where I see an issue for us is not so much we can do anything today about it, but what about a year from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now? What's our neighborhoods going to look like if we allow no oversight committee, no vetting process, or any of these other things that need to be put in place in order for us to feel secure? Because I know each and every one of you wouldn't want somebody coming in, moving in next door to you, and then have to deal with what we have to deal with. He's got 3 children. We have children all around our neighborhood. We have a peaceful, quiet neighborhood until about a month ago. Now it's just like Pat described. He's not exaggerating. It's a revolving door. There were 4 people that went in and out of that house yesterday in the half hour that we talked about this. So my issue is that I would come to the council and ask you guys to maybe at least organize some sort of committee, oversight committee, or some vetting process so that these people don't just come in and buy up these houses, place people in there. We don't know what their criminal background is. And I want to make it perfectly clear that I understand we need halfway houses. There are a lot of good people out there that have hard times. They have no place to go. They need something to get back on their feet. But at the same time, we have to protect our neighbors. We have to protect our neighborhoods. This isn't just an issue about halfway houses. This is an issue about our community. What's it going to look like 5 years from now if we go and we allow there to be a halfway house in every single block throughout our entire community? I mean, for me, it's traumatizing. It really is. I mean, we double check our locks. I mean, it's bad enough I can't tell you how many times I had my vehicle broke into in the last 5 years. I mean, our community, as we all know what's going on in it. But from my point of view, this is going to be a long-term problem if we don't have some kind of oversight to this problem. We need to have somebody regulating it. Anybody, you guys can get together and figure out something, some kind of plan. Because like I said, right now, there's nothing that Pat and I can really do right now.
30 seconds.
A year from now, 5 years from now, what's it gonna look like? But I just want to make it perfectly clear too that we need halfway houses. But they need to be regulated in some way, shape, or form, is what I said.
Alex in Ward 3. Currently the lights on First and F Street are blinking, and it's currently making it very hard to cross the street. Cars do not stop for pedestrians. I'm not the only one. I've heard other neighbors complain about the issue. I've sent in an act request, was told can't really do much, but I was wondering if maybe somebody at city council could figure out a temporary solution until this roundabout project is done to help with those of us that are trying to cross the street, not get run over or have to play Frogger. For those of you that get the reference. Just trying to get home from downtown. So if we could figure something out, that'd be great. Thank you.
Chair Meredith, Ward 4. We have another house on the 300 block of West Fifth Street where the same thing is going on. And when the home was purchased and this started happening, we saw bunk beds being built in the garage. We have residential zoning laws in our city. We are zoned for single family housing. So why is this being allowed? I don't know that I can expect a response from mayor or anyone on council right now, but we already have these laws in place. We can't wait a year from now. It's becoming a perpetual problem at the intersection of West Fifth and M Street where cars are parked the wrong way on the street, too close to the intersection. There's a big commuter van that's being parked there now. It's unsafe for our kids coming and going, lots of kids out active today on their bicycles, and these houses aren't made to house 8, 10 adults and children and all the cars and vehicles and drug traffic that's coming because of these houses being there. So maybe we can put this on the agenda for our next council meeting and discuss it. I don't know, but these neighborhoods are zoned for single family housing. And unless we do some pretty significant changes to our city codes and structure, this shouldn't be allowed. So I don't know when we can talk about this in dialogue, but that needs to happen because we get notices in the mail if a business tries to operate on a conditional use permit, but we don't get notices when people are moving into the neighborhood and occupying the house at a greater occupancy than is allowed. Thank you.
Thank you. Lisa Scott, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I didn't know if this was appropriate time to talk a little bit. I can answer to a little bit of what's been going on in terms of this halfway houses and whatnot, if you'd like. If not, we can do it another time.
I would like to hear from you at this time.
Okay. So in terms of the property that Mr. Locke was referring to, we have been following the proper process. It all started with some work that was done illegally on a house that we had to issue 3 different red tags to the property to stop work. And each time our red tag was removed, and we went and issued another one. We were just in the process of getting the search warrant in today when one of the managers of the site called to let us know that he is now the owner. He purchased the site and wants to go through the proper process. So in terms of a halfway house or however you want to phrase that, and those are conditional uses in our residential zones. Part of the problem is when people come in and get their permits to remodel their single family homes, we don't know that they're operating a halfway house. We assume that they're operating a single family home unless they tell us. But we do have a process to follow. So when we do get complaints such as this one, we do follow up on it, and we are following up on it. It takes us a while to gather enough information to be able to get a search warrant, to get into the house, to review the work that's been done, and have a game plan on what path they need to go forward. If they want to create a family, living arrangements out of a family, outside of a family, and make it a halfway house or clean and sober house, or however you want to do that, they have to apply for a conditional use permit. And the state legislature, we had a brief discussion about this last year, I believe, came down with some rules for us that said we can't discriminate anywhere that you have hotels, motels, or residences. You can't discriminate against that type of shelter activity. So with that said, we can still put conditions on it. And that is what we will do with the cases that we know about and we are following up on. So I would, as soon as we can get the new owner to submit the application for that conditional use, we will bring that forward to our hearings examiner, which goes through a lengthy process of, we notify everybody within 300 feet. We prepare a staff report. It goes out to anybody that wants to speak. The hearings examiner holds the hearing. He listens to the conversations and then he comes back with his decision. But things that we would condition in a conditional use permit for such a use is taking a look at the occupancy of the house. What was the house built for? What can we legally get in the building code in terms of occupancy? We look at parking. So we do look at all of those issues, and because it isn't the typical single family residence. So we do have a process and we do have a path and we do follow it. It's just, again, we don't always know that someone's not going to be operating a single family residence because they do not tell us. So the only way we hear sometimes is word of mouth of what's going on where. We always need enough information to warrant some kind of a knock on the door or check to find out what's going on. We try to get to people ahead of time to get them to go through the conditional use permit process the right way, but it doesn't always happen. So, but we do have a process and we are following it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else have anything? Seeing none, I'll move on to city council comments. Anyone on the city council have any comments they want to make? Councilmember Ellis?
Thank you. So all sorts of things happen in June. And most recently, Juneteenth was recognized last Sunday, and it's the second year it's been an official federal holiday. President Joe Biden signed the Juneteenth National Independence Day Act last year, making it the first new federal holiday since Martin Luther King Jr. Day was added in 1983. Juneteenth commemorates the freedom of enslaved Black people in the U.S. It's also known as Freedom Day or Jubilee Day. And then June is also celebrated in recognition of lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and intersex Pride Month, originally celebrated to honor the 1969 Stonewall Uprising in Greenwich Village. Pride Month has grown to be a recognition of the contributions LGBTQI+ individuals have had and continue to have in our communities at home and across the nation. There will be a Harbor Pride event in Hoquiam this Saturday, June 25th, and a celebration in Aberdeen, September 24th at the Grays Harbor Historic Seaport. Thank you.
Anyone else? Councilmember Couchman.
I wanted to see that in light of public comment tonight about halfway homes or clean and sober houses, or I don't know what the correct term is for what they are. If council feels that it would be appropriate to refer to one of our committees to look into the possibility, it doesn't sound like there is a possibility to do a moratorium, but to at least look at the enhanced permitting process and find out if there are any other opportunities to catch these beforehand and understand what might be out there, and potentially bring a recommendation to council. So I would make a motion that we refer this to Public Safety Committee? I don't know the right committee.
That sounds good.
We'll start there. Somebody can amend it.
The two new chiefs will be exciting.
Is there a second?
I'll go ahead and second that.
Thank you. Motion was made and seconded to refer this item of the housing issue to public safety. Is there any comments? Discussions? Councilmember Shaw.
I'm not sure if this is the right place to comment, but my thought as I was listening to the process we're following and everything is, if we know that that house is out of compliance and needs to come into compliance, what enforcement can we take now so that there's some sort of stop work, vacate, or some sort of, can we go get a judge to tell us they can't be there until this is all sorted out? Because if they are willfully defying our codes and coming into compliance on their own term, I mean, how do we call a timeout until this is all sorted?
You want me to answer that?
I was gonna say, I think the process is in motion. The referral to Public Safety Committee was just a mode to analyze the process and explain the processes to the council members. So there is an understanding. So go ahead, Lisa, if you.
So Council President Shaw brings up a really good point. So yes, we have red tagged the property due to work without a permit. At this point, it is not unsafe to occupy that we know of. We're trying to get access into the house to do a review to find out what work has been done. We have red tagged. We can't typically just shut a house down for alleged work in the house. We really need to see what work was done to make that determination. If we get in and we notice that work has been done and it is not up to code, then yes, they do need to vacate the premises. We usually give them 24 hours. And we have, at this point in time, we are scheduled, at least with one of the properties, we're scheduled to do a walkthrough on Friday. So we're crossing our fingers. We actually get into the house and can do that assessment of what's going on. There's multiple factors involved in this particular case, but we do have a process and we do follow it, and we are working on that. It just becomes a little bit more tricky when you talk about displacing people and finding places for them to go, and then the owner being responsible. So we're doing our best. Like I said, we had a search warrant ready to go, but it looks like we finally got compliance from the new owner. That just happened this week. And we should be getting in on Friday to assess what's been going on. So did I help answer that question for you?
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if I answered it enough or if you needed a little bit more. So thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion? Vote is on the floor. Is that where we're at? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Any other city council comments?
I'm really happy to see John here tonight.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it is good to see you here, Dawn. Really is.
It's good to be here.
Yes.
Thank you for saying that, bringing that up.
Oh, I just love John.
Really?
Any other city council comments? Okay, seeing none, we are going to recess to an executive session for about 30 minutes to discuss real estate and potential acquisition. And there might be action at the end of it.
So
Starting at 9:55.
Yeah. So we'll recess into the committee room.
do you need a motion in a second? I moved it.
I second it.
Motion is made and seconded that we recess to an executive session. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are recessed.
Convene and then adjourn.
Can you go through the full procedure?
Do you want to stay there? Stay here. Yeah, stay there.
Thanks, David.
I call the Aberdeen City Council meeting back to order.
We reconvene?
Okay. Motion was made to reconvene. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? We are reconvened. Last thing I want to mention before Debbie speaks is thank you, Parks Department, for helping getting the air purifiers in here. Going, it's been real nice. So Debbie,
Okay, I move to adjourn.
motion was made to adjourn and seconded. If there's nobody opposes, I will adjourn this meeting.
Very good.